As the British fleet arrayed itself in its formidable line of battle, Nelson's strategic mind was already envisioning the unfolding drama. He knew that the key to victory lay not just in the number of ships or guns, but in the ability to break through the enemy line and engage them at close quarters, where British gunnery and seamanship could prove decisive. The morning of October 21, 1805, dawned with a light breeze from the west, ideal conditions for the British fleet as it formed its battle line, sailing southwards in two columns. The combined French and Spanish fleet, meanwhile, was arrayed in a ragged line, stretching across several miles of sea. Villeneuve's plan, such as it was, seemed to be to wait for the British to attack, hoping to take advantage of his numerical superiority to overwhelm them. But Nelson had no intention of playing into his hands. As the British columns approached the enemy line, he gave the order to bear down on the foe, aiming to cut through their line and divide their forces. At around 11:45 a.m., the British fleet began its approach, with HMS Victory leading the charge. The French and Spanish ships, caught off guard by the speed and audacity of Nelson's attack, struggled to respond effectively. As the British ships broke through the enemy line, chaos erupted on both sides. The roar of cannon fire filled the air, mingling with the cries of the wounded and the dying. One of the defining moments of the battle came when HMS Victory, with Nelson at the helm, engaged the French flagship Bucentaure. The two ships exchanged broadsides, their cannons blazing as they sailed past each other. But it was the British ship that emerged victorious, raking the Bucentaure with a devastating broadside that left her badly damaged and unable to continue fighting. As the battle raged on, other British ships followed Nelson's lead, breaking through the enemy line and engaging their foes at close quarters. The French and Spanish ships, however, were unable to coordinate an effective response, their command structure weakened by internal divisions and lack of clear leadership. By around 1 p.m., it was clear that the battle was all but won for the British. Despite being outnumbered, Nelson's fleet had managed to gain a decisive advantage through its superior tactics and training. The French and Spanish ships were beginning to fall back in disarray, their crews exhausted and demoralized by the relentless British onslaught. At around 1:30 p.m., as he stood on the quarterdeck of HMS Victory, Nelson was struck by a sniper's bullet fired from the rigging of the French ship Redoutable. The bullet pierced his lung and severed an artery, leaving him mortally wounded. As he lay dying, surrounded by his officers and crew, Nelson knew that the battle was won, but at what personal cost? His final words, "Thank God the first have done my duty," would become legendary, a testament to the courage and sense of purpose that had driven him throughout his life. The news of Nelson's death sent shockwaves through the British fleet, but it did not deter them from completing their victory. The French and Spanish ships continued to fall back in disarray, their commander struggling to maintain any semblance of order. By around 4 p.m., the battle was effectively over, with most of the enemy ships either sunk or captured. As the battle drew to a close, the British fleet began to consolidate its gains, taking possession of the captured French and Spanish ships and tending to the wounded. The aftermath of the battle was marked by a sense of somber reflection, as the British came to terms with the loss of their beloved Admiral Nelson. His body was preserved in a cask of brandy and returned to England, where it was given a state funeral and buried in St. Paul's Cathedral. The news of Nelson's death sent shockwaves throughout the country, but it also galvanized the British people, who rallied behind their navy and its heroic achievement. In the months and years that followed, the Battle of Trafalgar had a profound impact on the course of European history. The French and Spanish navies were severely weakened, and Napoleon's plans for invading England were foiled once and for all. The British Navy, on the other hand, emerged as the dominant naval power in the world, a position it would maintain for over a century. As the historian C.S. Forrester once said, "The Battle of Trafalgar was not just a victory. It was a vindication of the whole system of naval warfare that had been built up by the British over the previous century." Today, the Battle of Trafalgar is remembered as one of the greatest naval victories in history, and its legacy continues to be felt. The battle is commemorated in numerous monuments and memorials throughout the UK, including the iconic Trafalgar Square in London, which features a towering column dedicated to Nelson's memory. The battle also continues to inspire artists, writers, and musicians who draw on its themes of courage, sacrifice, and patriotism. It represents a turning point in the struggle against tyranny and oppression, and a testament to the power of bravery and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. As Nelson himself once said, "Duty is the great business of a sea officer. All private considerations must give way to it, however painful it may be." These words continue to inspire us today, reminding us of the importance of duty, honor, and country. The Battle of Trafalgar also serves as a reminder of the enduring power of history to shape our understanding of the world and our place in it. As the historian Niall Ferguson once said, "The Battle of Trafalgar was a reminder that even in the most chaotic and unpredictable of times, there is always a deeper order at work, shaping the course of events in ways both seen and unseen." In the early 13th century, the world was a complex tapestry of empires, kingdoms, and tribal confederations, each with its own distinct culture, traditions, and aspirations. Amidst this kaleidoscope of human experience, a figure emerged who would change the course of history forever: Temujin, later known as Genghis Khan. Born around 1162 AD in the Khentai Mountains of Mongolia, Temujin's early life was marked by hardship, loss, and struggle for survival. His father, Yesuge, a Mongol chieftain, was poisoned when Temujin was just a boy, leaving his family vulnerable and isolated. The Mongolian plateau, where Temujin grew up, was a harsh and unforgiving environment, with its rolling steppes, icy winters, and brief, intense summers. It was here that the young Temujin learned the skills that would serve him well in his future conquests: horsemanship, archery, and the art of survival in one of the most inhospitable regions on Earth. As he navigated the treacherous landscape of tribal politics and alliances, Temujin began to build a reputation as a cunning leader and a fierce warrior. Temujin's marriage to Borte, a woman from a neighboring tribe, proved to be a pivotal moment in his life. Borte would become not only his wife, but also his trusted advisor and confidant, playing a crucial role in his future successes. The couple's early years together were marked by struggle and hardship, including a period of captivity at the hands of a rival tribe. However, through a combination of luck, cunning, and bravery, they managed to escape and begin building a loyal following of Mongol warriors. As Temujin's power and influence grew, so did his vision for a unified Mongol nation. He began to forge alliances with other tribes, often through strategic marriages or clever diplomacy. His military campaigns against rival tribes were marked by brutality and efficiency, earning him both fear and respect from his enemies and allies alike. The Mongol warriors, with their lightning-fast mounted archers and heavily armored cavalry, were a force to be reckoned with on the battlefield. In 1206, Temujin was formally recognized as the leader of the Mongols, taking the title Genghis Khan, which means universal ruler. This moment marked the beginning of a new era in Mongol history, one that would be characterized by relentless expansion, cultural exchange, and the creation of the largest contiguous empire the world had ever known. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.